right. Well, we're here with, do you prefer Damien?
Colt.
You like Colt or Damien?
Colt.
Okay. We're here with Colt. We're here with Colt Peterson tonight. He's agreed to spend some time with us and the family, really. He's going to tell us his hopes, his dreams, his ambitions, his fears, his resentments, his future plans, his goals, your objectives, the things you want to accomplish, the things that you're afraid of. It's a time for what I found with these is that this is a great time for family to listen to you and to get to know not only more about you but about your life's experience. What I've heard from people is that they've already been very helpful. So, I mean, I hope that's the case.
I've really enjoyed them.
I think for me, it's been absolutely helpful. I've been the largest recipient of whatever blessings come out of this, I think. So, but that's what it was intended for. When I started, I just wanted to get to know my nephews better. And then, when I started, I said, man, I'm gonna interview some important people. I'm gonna get some interviews. And then, as I started thinking about that, I thought, there's really not anybody more important in my life than family. So let's start there. And started with the nephews, and then pretty soon that gravitated to the nieces, only because they seem to get left out of too many things. The nephews get all the attention. So and the nieces have so much to offer, as you've probably seen and will see.
Yeah.
And I found out things like, great things. I didn't know Kelly, Chris's husband. Great guy, funny. It's just interesting the things that you become exposed to. So I hope that's the case with you tonight, even though I feel like I probably, in my mind, I think I know you better than anybody, but I bet I find out I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what gives? Tell us about you. Tell us where you're working, what you're doing, and are you at your folks' place?
Yeah, I'm house sitting for them.
Okay.
Right now, I'm house sitting for them while they're on their mission in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
So I'm posted up there.
Okay.
Got the mansion to myself.
How's that? Do you hear the bats in the belfry or anything? Do you hear the ghosts in the closet?
Yeah. For the first month, it took a bit getting used to. I would be laying there at night and the floor creaks or the wind comes through, breeze comes through, and doors open and shut. And that took a while getting used to, but now I sleep pretty good.
Huh.
I sleep with the loaded shotgun about 3 feet away from me, but I sleep good.
Well, I can't say I'd be any different. I'm kind of paranoid about making sure doors are locked. So in a big house like that with all those doors, all those many doors, Damien, Colt, that you can't be sure are locked all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got to make a guy nervous.
Yeah. It did. It did.
So now, for the benefit of those who don't know, we're just going to pretend like we're just going to go from the standpoint of not knowing anything. So tell us where you're working, what you're doing.
Okay.
Let's start there, and we'll get into the more important stuff later.
Okay. So right now, I am working as a full-time substitute teacher for Othello School District and Gordon School District.
So you travel to wherever they need you.
Whatever jobs I accept. So I have a choice. I can choose what jobs I accept and what I don't. So I've been doing it for about 5 years now. So I know what jobs I like, and I have teachers who request me. So I only work certain jobs now.
That's
only certain jobs that are great that I like. Yeah.
Any attractive teachers up there you're dating?
No. There are attractive teachers. I'm not dating any of them. I didn't want to. Well, I guess it's really small, tight knit groups of people. So
Yeah, that can be a little awkward.
Actually, I did date. Actually, funny story. So I was on, which dating site was it? I think it was Plenty of Fish. This was a couple years ago. I was on a dating site called Plenty of Fish, and I met a girl in Oregon who said she was moving to Eastern Washington. So we started talking, kind of liked each other, set up a date. So we went on our date, and I found out that she was moving to Eastern Washington to be a teacher at Warden Elementary School. One of the places I was subbing a lot at. So, and it didn't work out. But, yeah. So
interesting.
then I had to figure it afterwards all the time.
Oh well, just hold your head high and.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't. There was no bad blood, but it was just, yeah.
Make her think she's one that lost out. Okay, and so let's see. So Warden. Actually, I don't even think I've ever been to Warden. Is that north of? Where is Warden?
It's about halfway between Othello and Moses Lake, about 5 miles off Highway 17.
Oh, okay. So it's out there. Yeah. Oh, I've never been through there.
It's there's not a lot out there, but I really like the kids at work. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Cool. Now, there's certain, I can go in and edit these. I prefer not to because it takes too much time. So don't refer to a certain thing that's floating around that everybody's scared about. Don't talk about the thing that just be careful about your words, because for whatever reason, I mean, they're snagging everything, and yeah, it's just a pain. I can go in and take it out, but as you can imagine, it is a pain to find every little nuance, and mostly it's me. There was one time I said the word like 7 times in a row, and I'm having to adjust everything.
Will they flag your video for misinformation if you say the word?
They'll flag they not only flag you and they put a warning up, but they will also then attach other algorithms to you as a potential. Again, like you get under higher scrutiny, and I had an account under a different name before that was taken down completely. Like Facebook, I've made all about either religion or business and nothing else, because I also got put in Facebook jail forever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hate this. I actually am not a fan of all of the social media, but it is a good way to. It's a good way to spread the gospel. There are benefits to it, I think, in spite of how it might have started. So, now you, so let's tackle some things right out of the chute. We're going to get to some interesting things later, but you are no longer a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, correct?
That's correct.
You went on a mission.
Half
mission, came home.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about that. Was your experience coming home, was it painful? Was it a challenging time? What did you experience?
Yeah, I would say it was a very painful time in my life. Yeah, absolutely.
Were you?
You had just failed a major milestone in a young Mormon male's life. You just failed. People say, there's the whole like warrior mantra of Mormon culture, where it's like, better that you come home on a shield than come home before 2 years, or if you're going to go out, just a lot of things, and so it was a really big deal.
So I grew up in a time when that was even more the case.
I believe, yeah.
I mean, yeah, and but I got to tell you, it always struck me as odd that the true church would treat anyone that way, let alone someone who went out and tried to serve and then came back. You know, it seems to me like that's the time when no matter what happened to cause that situation, that's the time when we should put our arms around that person who came back and, you know, whatever the situation. But having said that, and so I'm not taking anything away from what you just said, because I know it to be true. Absolutely. I do know also, though, that is changing. That thought process is changing, where people are realizing, hey, you know what? A mission's not a saving ordinance. There's all kinds of things that go wrong in people's lives. We better start acting like Christians.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I can still remember to this day a couple people who said stuff to me after I had got back that was like kind, and I still remember it like to this day. A couple people in the Basin City ward. One of them was, I'm spacing his name right now, but McGarry, Scott McGarry.
Scott, yeah.
Yeah, he said something really kind to me that like made me feel a lot better. Bishop Price was really like kind.
Really?
Really kind, yeah. So I still remember a couple people that said like, just in passing, not like didn't even just sit down with me, said something like kind. I don't remember exactly what they said, but I still remember the way it made me feel.
Oh, yeah. I'm the same way with either stuck points or go points. Like, I don't always remember the exact words, but you can know somebody had a good heart, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I want to make sure we talk about that, because there are going to be a lot of people who watch the video, but a lot of family members too. And there are going to be more changes in our family, things that people don't expect, you know. And no matter how you look at it, I personally, as you know, I've told you many times, I respect you for living your life in the way that you think is the right way to live, and doing the right thing.
Right.
Well, nobody's perfect.
Right.
Nobody's perfect, right? Nobody's perfect. So, but to me, it seems like if we're going to fail somewhere, we need to fail on the side of kindness and love and acceptance. Yeah. Because, you know, take your situation. It would be very easy for you to go off the edge and just feel like, you know, for a while there, if you hadn't had some love, you might feel like you weren't even accepted in the family anymore. But
I never felt that way with the Taylor family at large. Never.
Yeah. Good.
So
that's good.
I mean, you know, because I mean, it was a big deal. Or I don't know how big of a deal it was, but I mean, I was the first male on the Taylor side of the family for quite a while to not serve a full-time mission. So people definitely could have like held that against me or chose to have hard feelings towards me. Maybe some people did, but they didn't tell me, and I never felt it. I never felt like that at all.
Yeah, I think in our family,
in the Taylor family at large. Yeah.
Now you said that twice. What do you mean at large?
I just mean in the Taylor family as a whole. I never felt that. So yeah.
But individually, people were tough on you?
Possibly, yeah.
It's a subject you don't want to go into.
Yeah.
Wait, I wasn't one of them, was I?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, and that's probably better anyway, because we don't want anybody to feel weird. I certainly don't want you to feel weird. But I like talking about these subjects because I think reflection on circumstances and situations helps us correct behavior in the future, right? Kyler's the first person in our family to go on a mission, and I know that I will say, I think that the boys maybe take more on themselves than it comes from the outside, but I know there's a tendency sometimes to feel weird about it, just, because it wasn't normal for a long time, and to have something like that happen. But again, I don't ever even see it like it's not the end of the world. And in fact, by the way that the direction that you've chosen to go, which, did you actually join another church, like through baptism?
I did, yeah. I was baptized into like the Christian family.
So like you're actually living the thing that you believe. Trying. I mean, clear, we're all trying, but I understand. I don't want to put you in a bad spot, but you're living by your own conscience, I guess I should say, and I think that's admirable. That you're trying to do things according to the way that you see the world and whatnot. I think that's cool. So you experienced the Taylor family at large was very supportive. Some individual pockets of resistance, but you seem like you processed things. And how are things today when you go to family events and stuff? Everybody kind to you?
Yeah, of course.
There's no reason not to be, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think. That's good. And I think that shows a great growth in the family too, because they are collectively had to process something that wasn't what was expected. You paved the way for my kids, is what you did.
Everybody's gonna blame me for.
No, that's not a blame.
Sterling didn't go on a mission. That's my fault.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it, and you're older now, but you probably processed all this. But part of it is simply, man, like your parents, and they're older than me, but those same kinds of belief systems existed when I came up, and it was different. Like I told you, we had people that came home from missions in our stake, and man, it was not good for them. Like it was girls didn't want to date them, and
Right.
Parents were warning people about them, and I always felt weird about that. But I also felt weird in high school, when we had girls that got in trouble with boyfriends and getting pregnant and whatnot, and their parents would boot them out of the house. I always thought, it always struck me as weird that Christians would behave that way. But I mean, they're doing their best, and sometimes it's hard to know what to do,
I will say that at the same time that I came home early, and we didn't plan this together, obviously, but Nate Wood came home early, and there was one other person, I forgot, but that kind of spread out any focus that might have
been the heat.
Yeah, and so I was thankful for that. Not thankful that they weren't able to finish it if they wanted to, but I was thankful that I was fully one at the time.
That's awesome. Now, where were you called to?
Philippines.
Oh, that's a tough mission.
Quezon City. So it was like Quezon City.
There's going to be 5 temples there soon. It's amazing.
In the Philippines?
Yeah. Yeah, there's 2 already, and then now there's 3 more under construction. I only know that because, again, this Facebook tool, you end up hooking up with members all over the place, and some of them are in the Philippines, and they're very excited about their temple building projects.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. So, your church meets on Sunday mornings?
My church meets at twice a day on Sundays. It was 3 times a day, twice a day right now. Yeah, Sunday, so 9 and 11:30. It's right, the one I'm going to right now. I'm actually just became a member of it. Hungry Generation in Pat. So it's a Pentecostal-ish church. And
this is made up of more younger folks?
It's actually a really good mix of, which sometimes the one thing that I miss, or the Mormon Church does a really good job of, or LDS Church does a really good job of, is in LDS churches you always see family, you always see all age groups. In the Christian church in America, you don't always see that. Sometimes it's just elderly people. A lot of times there is no youth. So the church I'm going to, there's a really good mix, and yeah. So what was your question?
I was asking about the age groups. Like some of the churches, the new ones around here, like Young Life. There's some that seem to have larger youthful populations rather than like families.
It does. It has a good sized population and a lot of singles, and there's families too.
Yeah. So a good mix.
Yeah. It's a mix of like, actually all the pastors are immigrants from Ukraine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like pulled in a lot of the Ukrainian community in the Tri-Cities. So it's like a mix of Ukrainians, Hispanics, and then just, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we had some neighbors when we were down on Masara Place that were Ukrainian. I don't know if they were. I knew they were Christian. I don't know if they went to that church or not. But so do you have? Do they have what, like we have callings? Do you have voluntary service or anything like that you do at the church?
Yeah. So I was helping out with parking attendants for a while because the church is pretty packed, so they need people to direct where the cars go. So I was helping out with that for a while. Then my job kind of interfered with it. Right now, I also have a men's group I go to on Tuesday nights. So we meet up as a bunch of single men, or I guess some of them are married too. But I have a young men's group I go to on Tuesdays, and then an offshoot of the church, kind of like singles ward, but not really, but smaller. There's probably like 10 different young men or young women's groups at this church that meet.
And
than when church is, yeah.
Is it like do you do a Bible study, or is it some other kind of?
Yeah, we do a Bible study. We pray for each other. We kind of hold each other accountable. So if one of us is struggling with something, we hold each other accountable, and we're just there for each other, support each other. Try to have intentional relationships. Develop like deep intentional relationships with each other, because we're supposed to be the family of Christ, right? So we should, we need to be there for each other, help each other out. Yeah.
Very cool. So this will change gears just a little bit. If you look back during this process of coming back and joining maybe a different church, is there anything about that experience that you would change or do differently? Or are you pretty satisfied with the direction that you went?
I don't know if I could change anything. But I will say there was some. So when I first got back, I had gone through like a Christian. So out of college, coming out of college, I had become like physically dependent on some anti-anxiety medications that I was taking. So I quit those, but I had like horrible withdrawals, went through a bunch of terrible stuff. That ended up leading me to I ended up going to a Teen Challenge in Jacksonville, Florida, which is like a Christian discipleship kind of treatment center there. I went there for 4.5 months, then I came back, and then that's when I wrote in and had myself removed from the church records. Then I started going to a little cowboy church is what it's called. In Othello, the pastor was a guy named Travis Klingeman. And he's actually, somehow I think he's related to Dave Speck. I forgot exactly how, but I think he's somehow related to Dave Speck, the Klingeman's daughter. Anyways, so that was like, I ended up living in a tent for like over a period of a year, like 9 months. I was in a tent in Othello, tented up there while I had just gotten out of like this like treatment center. So that was hard, but it was actually, I like living in tents, so actually it was I mean, it actually worked out pretty well. But and then so Travis's family became like my family, and that just all the members of that church there did. But then after I was there for like a year, Travis ended up moving. The pastor, Travis Klingeman, ended up moving out to the Midwest, and so my whole support system there just kind of like poof, disappeared, and that was like really hard to go through. And I didn't start seriously attending another church until about 2 years ago. So that was really hard to go through.
Well, since you brought up tents, there's something that I'm interested in, and I think everybody else is too. I want to know your experience of, I can't remember if it was the Appalachian Trail or if you hiked. Did you also do the Mexico to Canada Rocky Mountain Trail?
I did the Pacific Crest Trail.
Sorry. Okay.
No, you're fine. Yeah. So it's a trail that runs from Mexico to Canada through mountain ranges in California, Oregon, and Washington, obviously. I did the California section. So I was backpacking for about 3 months, and I did the California section. So I went through started right on the border of Mexico. You could see the hole or the fence with all the holes in it, and hiked through the desert for about 500 or 600 miles. Then it goes up into the San Bernardinos and San Jacintos and Sierra Nevadas. Yeah.
Wow. What was that like? I mean, were you on your own?
Yeah, I started off and I was on my own. Yep, I was kind of having an existential crisis at the time, so that was.
This was your pre-midlife crisis.
I was in a bit of an existential crisis at the time, so that was like the driving factor to get me out there to do it, which is really good. I'm glad I did it, and yeah. So, what was your question? Sorry.
Well, we can get back to that. I'm wanting to know about the experience, but you said you were suffering a bit of an existential crisis. Yeah. You know what the word existential means? I wonder, are you telling me that were you depressed?
I would say I don't know what happened, but it was like this. I was going to school at BYU Idaho at the time. I think I was 23 when I started backpacking, so I had was still processing a lot of the stuff with coming home from my mission early. I was in a Mormon environment, and but I just remember being at school, and I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden, I felt like this switch clicked in my brain, and everything that I knew that held value to me, like that had value, that had meaning, it just died. Everything just died, and there was like no meaning left in the universe. I felt like God was just gone. God was dead. Everything it was just like darkness.
But you don't remember. You don't remember what happened. Anything?
No. I wasn't like. I was hardly even drinking caffeine at the time, so I don't know why. I don't know why I went through that.
That's interesting. Wow.
So, and then that was like I was trying to find meaning through that, trying to like, struggling just to like really survive, trying to do something that had meaning. And so I had grown up in the scouting program in the Mormon church, which I'm really, really thankful for. That was an amazing program. and had been able to go on some 50 milers, and those had a lot of meaning to me as a child. And so I remembered that. And on one of our 50 milers that we did when I was part of a Boy Scout program in Issaquah, we had met some guys who were through hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, and they were up in Washington at the time. They had already done most of the trail. And I remember thinking, like, oh, that'd be really cool, or something I'd want to do later. So I kind of went back to that memory at a time in my life when everything was like good and had meaning, and I felt like led to do that.
Yeah, it's like your own John Muir moment or something. That's pretty cool. I mean, a lot of people find their greatest religious experiences out in the wilderness. Did you have any close encounters with wildlife while you're out there?
Yeah, I had nothing like too crazy. I didn't, in the desert Southern California, there wasn't a lot. I didn't actually even see any, or I saw maybe a couple rattlesnakes, nothing like serious. But I didn't even see any bears until I got to Northern California, all the way through the Sierra Nevadas. And I was in Northern California, and I remember I was camping one night with a guy who had been in the Army, and he was suffering from like some PTSD, so he was out on the trail. Anyways, we were camping up on this ridge, and it was kind of windy, and we set up this camp. We had a bonfire going. I was in a tent, and he was trying to ultralight it, which means like carry as little as possible while you're hiking. So he was using like his down coat and his sleeping bag. It was like doubling his sleeping bag. Anyways, we were sleeping. We had a bonfire going, and then obviously the bonfire, or we had like a campfire going. The campfire was dying down, and as the campfire was dying down, it must have been like 12 o'clock at night. I could hear something circling our camp. So the bonfire would die down more and more and more, and as it died down, I could hear this thing like circling our camp closer and closer and closer, and it was just going around in the brushes. I could hear the brush rustling, and this thing would get closer and closer and closer. Finally, I don't know, at like 2 or 3 in the morning, our campfire died, and I heard this thing come, and it was like a couple feet away from me, and I got out my phone and I shined my flashlight on it. No, I didn't have a phone at the time. I think I just got out my flashlight and shined it on, or my headlamp and shined it on it, and it was a bear. And
Whoa!
And I was like, bear! And I woke him up, and I was like, bear, bear, bear. So the bear ran off, and we were fine. We built up the campfire.
Wow.
But it was just a black bear. Black bears in the Sierra Nevadas are basically harmless.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Wow. That's quite an experience. So, are you, this kind of feeds into this, and it's just because we're in that area now. Are you, I think you told me that, are you a counselor for a camp? Or
No,
were, or something?
I was for a camp in California. I'm planning on going back, and I'll be the Lakes and Aquatics director. So I'll direct the Lakes and Aquatics program.
And you're going back, is that this summer?
Yeah, that's the
plan.
Depending on
that seems...
depending on how things go with you know what.
Right. So what kind of campers do you have? Are these kids rich, poor, or what's the story with them?
They, generally speaking, they are more wealthy just because the cost of tuition for the camp. There's the camp divides things into 2-week sessions, so the campers come for 2 weeks, and there's 5 2-week sessions at camp. And a 2-week session, I think it runs about $3,700. So you need.
How'd you get hooked up with these guys?
I just a couple of years ago, I really felt like I wanted to go back to the Sierra Nevadas. I wanted to go back to the Sierra Nevadas, and I wanted to work a job there. And that's like the only requirement I had for the summer, because I was substitute teaching in the fall and winter. And I was like, I really want to go back to the Sierra Nevadas. So I just started searching jobs that were in the Sierra Nevadas in that area, and that's one that I found.
See, already you're living a more interesting life than most of us. I think you're just living.
So. I think it'd be amazing to have kids and get to be involved in all their activities. I think that's a very interesting life. Yeah.
Well, that's coming for you, maybe. Never know.
Hopefully, yeah.
Do you? I don't think I would ever describe you as necessarily a prepper, but you were kind of living as a minimalist for a while, weren't you? Like getting by on, like, not wanting to be materialistic or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's out of choice or just out of necessity, because I don't. So, but yeah, I do. I guess I would say I live a pretty minimalistic lifestyle. I have like 4 vehicles, so maybe that's not true. only 2 of them are running at any one time, though. So I guess.
Wow. Who knew that in a country like that you could have 4 vehicles, be poor, but have 2 of them running? I mean, oh man.
Yeah.
So something that has always interested me, and I don't know how many of your cousins know about this. I remember actually the day that it happened. Do you remember anything about when you came off the bike, broke your neck?
I don't. I've actually. I shouldn't say that. It's a bad word. But no, I don't. What I remember. So obviously, my dad was giving me a ride. I think it was on Uncle Brock's like cruiser.
Yeah.
I think I was in the middle. Dax was in the back.
Okay.
So I don't know how I came off and Dax didn't. Dax, if there's anything you need to confess to me, go ahead. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
No, Dax, we want to know what happened.
You pushed me off, Dax.
What did you do, Dax? What did you do?
I'm just kidding. No, so, and I know I had a scarf on because people told me that. I got or I had like a blanket scarf on, got thrown off. Did
it yank you off? Maybe? Did you get stuck? Okay, okay.
And that's how Dax didn't fall off, because I think it just yanked me off so quick. Dax could probably tell you a lot more about this than I could. I don't remember a lot, except I remember being in the ambulance, and I just remember feeling like I was not connected to my body, like I was just floating out of my body.
Weird.
Yeah.
So how many? Was it a vertebrae that was broken? I mean, you obviously didn't.
3 vertebrae.
3 vertebrae. Wow.
Yeah, 3 vertebrae. They were broken, and the other.
They fused them. Yeah. And yeah, for a while. Do you feel stiff with that today?
My neck will get stiff. I do like neck exercises probably like 4 or 5 times a week to strengthen my neck and like stretch it out. But yeah, my neck will get stiff. My lower back will get sometimes. I've been really blessed. It hasn't been. I mean, it did get pretty bad for a while, but that's when I started doing exercise and figuring out other ways to strengthen it and relax the muscle.
What do you do to relax the muscles?
Well, I had to do some exercises to just stretch the muscles out. I also, this is going to sound crazy, but something I do is, so I grow for the last couple of years, probably for like 4 or 5 years, I've grown super hot peppers. It's kind of a hobby in the summers.
Oh yeah.
So what I'll take these super hot peppers that I grow. They have this oil in them, or this chemical in them called capsaicin, and it can be used as like it's being used now for people who have nerve pain or neuropathy, because they think that like neuropathy or nerve pain is like your nerves aren't getting a signal, so they're like overfiring to try to. There's just too much going through, and they're overfiring. So basically, I'll rub like these peppers on my neck and my back, and it will like deaden the nerves and kill the nerves back.
Huh.
Is the idea, and I think it works when I'm doing it. Yeah.
And you're making your own. That's cool.
I grow my own. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, are you watering the lawn right now? Is that what you're doing as part of? Yeah.
Why? How do you know?
I'm just guessing because, I mean, that yard is like kind of a major yard, and my goodness, yeah. I mean, because at various times the whole family has been up there doing various things, but I always love that yard. It's beautiful. It's only beautiful because people work on it, but
yeah.
Did you get a chance to see the cemetery video at all?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
You should check it out. It's pretty cool. I know a lot of people like Othello, Moses Lake, that direction weren't even told about the thing, and so yeah, I didn't know they weren't told. So I made the video because I was there, and then I start getting all this feedback like, why didn't we know? And I'm like, hey, whoa, I just made the video. I don't know anything about the invite.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so it's funny. At the break, Tina walks by. She goes, now, you're going to want to be careful because, you know, he's had a few experiences. I'm like, we already tackled all the difficult stuff.
Did you really say that?
Yeah. So, yeah, Aunt Tina loves you.
We've kept it PG.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the thing that I think, because I think you and I are okay. I think you and I have always been okay for the most part.
Yeah.
I just wonder if there's anything we need to share with family, that any clarifications on things that you want to make, and you know, because what happens when people don't know each other very well is things just kind of go under the radar. They are remaining unsaid, and I'm not saying even the bad things, even the good things. Unfortunately, they sit there and don't compliment each other enough, don't help each other enough. One recurring theme that happens in these, and it might be my fault that it keeps being brought up because I keep bringing it up, but just the notion that we're going through mortality together, and no matter what church you belong to, we all there's the same kinds of sins. It's the same kinds of things that we're trying to get through and overcome. And to me, you seem like you're down with all of that. Like you're ready to help anybody that needs help, right?
I would hope so. I don't know if people would be for help, but if they did, I would help them.
I think that's the wrong way for us to look at it, though, is because, you might have joined a different church, but that doesn't mean you're a different person. That just means that you have a slightly different belief system, or major, depending on how you look at it. It doesn't matter. We're all in the same boat. Nobody's getting out of this life alive.
Right, exactly.
So why not help each other,
Absolutely, yeah.
I suspect you have some of the same challenges I do. Yeah. So it's kind of been a recurring theme. And, what we're kind of finding, what I'm kind of finding with the interviews is that everybody sort of feels the same way, but nobody really wants to be the first to bring it up. So the interviews are sort of breaking the ice for people to be able to talk about difficult things. Your situation, you and I can talk frankly because we know each other pretty good, but your situation is probably among those dicey ones that nobody really knows how to deal with. It's what do you do? But I feel like you're in that same generational group.
How do you mean?
Well,
I'm just curious. What do you mean by
I know because it's even the way that I turn a phrase can be misconstrued. So let me rephrase that.
I'm not offended. I won't be offended. I'm just curious. What do you mean?
Well, for people who were raised in LDS homes, you leaving the church and joining a different church might be slightly uncomfortable because they don't maybe know how to approach you. And I think what I want the interview and the video to show is the way you approach Colt is the way you approach anyone.
Yeah.
He just goes to a different, he's the same guy. He's the same good guy. He's a cousin. No reason to be weird about it. And
you think it, I never, in my mind, I never thought that it would. Yeah, I never thought that it would affect. Like, I never thought it would make people uncomfortable to approach me, though.
It may not, and especially with your generation, because that's another thing that's come up is like your generation, like the kids of the Taylor siblings, are like the first ones to just love each other. Like there's no question, there's no pretense, nobody's acting weird about anything. It might be my generation that might think there's some kind of weird thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like. There's like if somebody wanted to come up and talk to me about why I left the Mormon church or what I believe, there would be like, I am like more than happy to share that, because for me, I believe like, and I don't always do a good job of this, but I think that people should live what they believe. So if you're a Mormon, I think you should try to be the best Mormon you can be, and you should believe what the Mormon teaches, the church teaches, you know? So, like, I don't know exactly what people think, but, so, like, if you're a Mormon and you know that I left the Mormon church, I would expect you to believe that I won't be with you in the celestial kingdom, right? Because that's what the Mormon church teaches. Right?
I believe that type of teaching has gone on, yes. However, one thing that becomes apparent to anybody is that there are good people everywhere, and the notion that Christ's atonement covers everyone, it covers everything. What if you're baptized into a different church? I obviously still believe in proper authority and all of that, but
right.
But that doesn't mean that I don't think you will be in heaven. I'm just going to refer to that rather than as like the 3 degrees of glory.
What I mean, it's like somebody came up to me. Yeah.
It's kind of presumptuous.
I don't think so, because I think the Mormon church is very clear on what they believe. So if somebody came up to me and they were like, hey, you left the Mormon church, I'm worried that you're not going to be with us in this celestial kingdom, and that you're going to be going to because you went through the temple, because you didn't, because you took out your endowments and you haven't fulfilled those promises, I don't think you're going to be with us in the celestial kingdom. I would be like, hey, that's awesome. I'm glad you are able to talk about what you believe. I'm glad you believe it enough. Because I think people should speak and say what they believe. I wouldn't be offended at all if somebody said that.
Well, but if you've been watching the interviews, one of the key concepts that have been coming out is that don't look outward, look inward. Like, don't look at someone else's behavior, look at your own. Like, what makes you think that someone else's choices are any worse than yours, right? And so,
right.
So what do we believe? Well, first of all, you may not even, because you're a member of a different church, they don't even like us referring to ourselves as Mormons anymore. They like us to refer to ourselves as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
I've heard that. It's just haven't been part of it since they stopped it, so I still refer to it. Yeah, I'm sorry. So the LDS.
No. I'm not offended. It's just that it's a challenge. It's a challenge for everybody, even in the church, to be like, wait a minute, we're gonna expand our moniker, even though it's always been the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The Mormons or LDS was such a nice, short, concise way of referring to each other. But
you're not even supposed to refer to it as LDS anymore. You're supposed to use the full deal.
Yeah, okay. And you can see why. I think you can see why. I can see why they're doing that. They don't want to be disassociated from Jesus Christ, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But I can see President Nelson's thought process there, but I don't know. But so would you feel then, largely with the way that you stated that, would you say that LDS people who thought that way were being judgmental?
No, I would say that no, absolutely not. I would say that they are saying what the Mormon Church believes, or the Church of Latter-day Saints believes.
It's all right. So what do you believe?
What do I believe? I believe that if you believe on Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and confess that you do, and believe that He died for your sins, that you'll be going to heaven.
See, I serve my mission in the South, and it's something that we always talked about as a zone and as a mission, is like what we hear people in the South say, because they're largely Pentecostal type churches, is that kind of a belief system. And the thing is that statement is absolutely true. The statement that accepting Jesus Christ's atonement in your life is all you need to do, by grace you are saved, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a true statement. I mean, so from that standpoint, when you talk about heaven, I absolutely think Colt's going to be in heaven.
But in the Latter-day Saints Church, you need to an endowed member who to the end, right?
What I think is that the church and people in the church
to go to the celestial kingdom and to enter into the eternity.
Yeah, well,
of God.
Let's just say that there's a lot of things that have been taught over the years. I'm not saying that that's not what we believe, but I am saying that we tend to limit the effects of the atonement, and I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not comfortable putting Christ in a box and saying, okay, this is it. Okay, so and so can't go to the celestial kingdom. That's not my choice. That's not for me to say, and I never would. If a person was expressing thoughts of being different or left out, or that we were treating them like they were different, I would recoil at that. That bothers me, because I think it separates people, when I'm more interested in having there be love and affection and help and brotherhood.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny what you said, though. I certainly have heard the same things, of course. But strictly speaking of heaven, the atonement covers all. Very few exceptions.
Who accepted, right?
Yeah. You accept Christ into your life, and He's your Lord and your Savior. That's our promise. It is by grace that you are saved. You would like our stake president, Larson. He has this, I'll see if I can send you the link if you have a time to watch it, but he did a talk in Second Ward and First Ward, but I only got the Second Ward recording because of the thing that's going on. Everything's online now, but he taught the 4 misconceptions of repentance, and you would love this stuff, because it is a different way of understanding things, and a different way of being less judgmental and more accepting, more loving, more, shall I say it, Christ-like.
Yeah.
Because I think
I heard you talk about that with a couple of the other people. I think Cody and probably.
So I mean, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Please understand. I think but it feels like you are saying. It feels like you are, in some ways, rightly so, maybe pointing out some doctrinal flaws, and I know how you're going to do. You're going to back up. You're going to say, "Oh no, whatever Mormons believe, that's fine. That's fine. It's just not how I believe. I believe it's by grace you're saved." And I get that. But see, I've always felt, even on my mission, that traditional Christianity and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were not miles apart. Do some other Christian faiths think we're miles apart? Yeah, they do. They don't even think we worship the same Savior, Jesus, as they do. And they want to put us in this box as well. I want to go just the other direction. I want to say, no, actually, you guys have it right. It is by grace you are saved. It is by grace you are saved. Is it possible that there's more? I mean, there's. I believe in the restoration of the gospel. I do. Yeah. Is there more? Is there an authority? Is there a priesthood authority? I mean, I believe that there is, but I am kind of on this mission to say, hey, let's stop with the judgment. Let's start with the love and invite people into our lives. And I want to be a part of your life. I mean, I want to know more about what you believe. I'm not even going to say that I have a corner on understanding Christianity. I'm learning more all the time.
Me too. Yeah, I don't either.
But sure. I don't want to feel a separation, not just between me and you, but between me and any member of any other church, right? Yeah. I mean, I want to find the areas where we click. There's more of those than there are, there are people who want to get into these dogmatic arguments, and I just don't think that's Christian.
Yeah. I think you need to contend for the truth. You don't
as you understand it, but also if you're from, and you make this distinction, I think it's just so that I don't think you're doing it to make it a pejorative, but you're making a distinction that, oh no, you're a Christian. You know very well that LDS people are Christians.
Right. So, and that's not what I mean. I just have to say that because, like, how would I differentiate between?
Right. It's a distinction.
Yeah, I'm not saying that LDS people don't believe in Jesus or that they're not going to heaven. That's not up for me to decide.
Me neither.
But like when I'm talking about Christians and then I say LDS, that's just because that's the names that they call themselves.
There's a distinct. Yeah, I get it. Okay, good. All right.
You're not a Christian, or you don't. Yeah. So. Because
when I was in the South, there were people who did do that. They would be like, "Oh, you're not really a true Christian. You haven't accepted Christ." And I always thought that was weird. I was like, "Wow, like individually as a missionary, I am trying to mature my belief system." And you're challenging me in a little bit because I'm trying to accept you. You're trying to damn me, and I don't really get that. Right. It seems to me like it's the more Christian thing to do is to say, you know what, our job is to love each other, and the judgment, if you read the New Testament in any way, shape, or form, is up to someone else.
Yeah, that's to God. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I love you, and I don't want you to feel like people are sitting over here thinking, oh, he left the church, or even other people saying, ooh, he left a false church. He knew something we didn't know. We just have different ways of seeing the world. You had some experiences, I think, that were a little bit traumatic. I don't know what all of them were.
Yeah.
I remember coming up to your house one day though. And I pulled up, and I don't know, I think I was in the Honda Civic. It was really a quiet car. And, man, you came booking it out of the garage, and you were hauling. You didn't have any shoes on, and you were running you ran across the basketball court out into the rocks under the driveway, and your dad was hot on your tail. And he had a shoe.
Really?
And he chucked it at you, and then you both kind of turned and realized I was standing there. I just pulled up, right? Like nobody knew I was there at that time. But yeah, it was funny. I thought it was funny, but I never did find out what that was about because you guys were always so damn private about everything.
Yeah.
Which you should be. I mean,
Well, I don't. Yeah, there's probably lots of incidents like that. I don't remember like that particular stuff.
Yeah, I have them on with my own kids too, where they'll say, You remember that time when you said I was whatever, And I'm like, nope, I don't remember that. Tina, do you remember that? Yeah, Tim, I do remember that. You were kind of a jerk. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like the time, like you said one time that I used, I won't use the word, but sand.
Oh, I don't know. You know what? It's
sand rigger. How's that? But that was another one. I was like, I said that really? Like, I mean, but as I'm progressing in my life, I want to just say I'm a flawed person. Do I remember saying those things? No. Is it possible? Absolutely. There are times when I am absolutely certain I did not leave my keys in the place where I absolutely did leave them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, I've always respected you, and I've always felt like you tried to be really honest. You can cut this out if you want to. Obviously, you can. But so do you mind if I say it?
Do it.
Okay. So I remember before I went through the Mormon temple, you were one of the only people. You were the only person who told me, hey, this might be a little weird.
I don't think I'm going to cut that out because it was weird to me.
Yeah, it used to be a lot weirder. It's still, yeah, you might be a little weirded out. And I remember going through it and thinking, wow, Uncle Tim was the only person who could have all these lessons and they teach you about it, but it's all like general information and none of it's specific and you have no idea what you're going into. And I remember going through it and Uncle Tim was the only person who told me. I'm not a courageous person. If I had courage, I would have said when I was 17, hey, I don't have that strong of a testimony. I don't think I'm going to go on a mission. But I didn't have the courage to do that, so I'm not like a courageous person.
Ooh, you know what? That's well said, because I do remember being at Utah State and being absolutely terrified because I got really crappy grades my first semester. I was not prepared to go to school at all. And I was living on my own, and I was working at the Hub, turning burgers, and I was mad at my parents. But I remember thinking, I could go on a mission and get out of all this. But then you get out in the mission field, and reality slaps you so hard, as you know. It happened to you too. But I was just like, oh my gosh, do I really believe this? I'm going to be out in this New Iberia, Louisiana heat for 2 years. I am not doing this if I don't have some kind of conviction.
Yeah, right.
But I'll be the first to tell you, man. I don't know. You say you have no courage, but you at least did what you thought you were supposed to do in your mind. Right, wrong, or indifferent, you were living according to the dictates of your own conscience, which is what one of our articles of faith says we're supposed to do. So,
well, I really believe that God led me to leave the Mormon Church and to go and to lead me to start reading the Bible as the Word of God and to join. And I'm not saying, like I said, I'm just saying this because that's what they call themselves, but to join the Christian family. Not that Mormons aren't Christian, but they call themselves Latter-day Saints. And I was leaving that the Latter-day Saints, joining, becoming.
I got you. Yeah, I got you. It would be tough to know how to phrase everything so you're not offending anyone ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do your parents say about that? Do they talk to you at all about it anymore, or is it just now it's an accepted thing and they've moved on? And what do they say?
Not much. I know that when my mom got the letter. So my parents have both met Travis Klingeman, who was my pastor in Othello when I first left the Mormon Church, and he's a really, really great guy. So they had both met him. But I remember when my mom after I wrote in and asked myself to be for my name to be taken off the membership of the church. The church, the LDS church, sent a letter to the house, and my parents opened it and read it, and then they were like really sad about it. My mom was sad about it, and then I had gotten baptized by Travis, so I think they were sad about that. I don't know. I just feel like that's. I mean, I don't think. I think like, well, if that's what I believe, that's what I should do. Like, it would be disingenuous to do otherwise. Like,
yeah, I kind of think that they raised you to follow your own conscience. I mean, they might not have been happy with the result of that, but
yeah, maybe, yeah.
Or am I wrong? Did they just want you to put your conscience aside and you just put your head down, and just be a good member of the church?
I think my mom would be happy if Mom, I love you if you're watching this, but I think she would be happy if I was Mormon again. Yeah. I'll have to think about it. She thought the reason that I left the Mormon church was because I wasn't a strong enough person to obey all the rules of the Mormon church. So whether she's correct or not, I don't know. That's not for me to decide, but that's why she thought I left. I don't believe that's why I left. I've never been like angry at the Mormon church. I've never been angry at Mormons. I just don't believe it's true.
No, your behavior, your attitude is actually quite remarkable. I think you should be applauded for it.
So, So I just don't believe it's true. So I can't live. I don't want to live something that I don't believe is true, because I know, from growing up in Mormon culture, from going to BYU, Idaho, from living in Provo, Utah, or Utah, and going to churches there. I know there are a lot of Mormons who do that, who live their whole life, and they don't believe the Mormon church is true, but they believe it's a good thing, or they believe it teaches good principles. But I mean, that's just got to feel really suffocating to live your whole life following something you don't believe is true, or maybe it works out for them. I don't know.
Well, I've told you, I don't know that questions ever leave you. I felt comfortable enough sharing quite a bit with you about my own challenges with things, but I think that go ahead.
For me, it wasn't like I was a super courageous person. That's why I left. I just had come out of like a really bad addiction to anti-anxiety drugs, terrible withdrawals, was basically like homeless, and I had nothing to lose. I was like, well, I really had nothing to lose. I'm going to try to do what I believe God is leading me to do, and whatever happens, happens.
So this moves on to a question that you're going to face at some point if you find someone that you care enough about to think about marriage.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you obviously probably wouldn't marry a member of the church then, right? Or would you?
I think it would lead to too many conflicts, but I would love to marry somebody who grew up in the church.
Yeah.
And then had left.
There you go. If that would make some sense, because what would always happen if she hadn't left is that at some point you're going to have children, and then the real challenge is going to come, where are you going to go? Because you're going to want to be religious in some way, and then that's when the conflict starts. But there's nobody right now that you're seeing.
No, I dated a girl who was a Jehovah's Witness for a while, and I could see it didn't work out. I just saw that like it would have been like dating a LDS girl, like
too many differences. Yeah.
Too many differences.
Well, there has to be cute girls in the church down here you're going to, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I mean, that's not really my focus. Like, if I get married, I get married. If I don't, it's not that I'd love to get married, but it's not the end of the world for me. I don't believe in eternal marriage. I don't believe I don't believe that Jesus taught an eternal marriage. I don't believe that Jesus taught eternal families. I mean, there'll be an eternal family, but it'll be the family of Christ. So if I don't get married in the next life, nobody's going to be married, I believe. So,
well, set that aside for a second. You're not getting any younger.
Right. See, that's the thing. I'm not gonna go get married just to get married, just because I'm not getting younger, and then be in a marriage where, I think it's much better to be single than be in a marriage you don't, that you just did to do.
Right. No, you're right.
But I may be wrong. In 10 years, I may really regret the decision, or, I hope not. But
you never know. You could meet somebody tomorrow. You never know what's going to happen.
Jesus never got married.
Who?
Paul never got married. Paul, according to the New Testament, but maybe it's Mormons believe that he did. Paul was never married. I think a couple of the disciples were never married. So, I mean, there have been people a lot better than me who never got married, and they led good, meaningful lives. I believe you can have really deep, meaningful relationships without getting married.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I don't know. I mean, I don't follow you around every day, but every time I see you, you seem like you're a nice guy. I guess you try to be, right?
Or pretend, yeah.
Is it a big act?
For sure.
It is with me, I'll tell you that right now. All right, well, tell me this. We'll hang up in just a second, but you've been watching the interviews, and you know that nieces and nephews are going to watch this interview. What do you want them to know about you that they don't?
What do I want to know about this?
Yeah, I mean, like, if they're like, are you because we're all misunderstood in some way, one way or another, and we can always give lip service to not wanting acceptance or whatever, but we do. But what is it about Colt that people should know, or that?
I just don't know how I misunderstand. If people misunderstand me, I don't know in what way. But I love to. I mean, probably one of my biggest passions is God. So I love to talk about people's beliefs, even if we believe different things. I would hope not get offended too easily if people believe something different than me, or they believe that what I believe is incorrect. But yeah, so if anybody, ever wants to talk about what I believe, or wants to tell me what they believe, or wants to know why I may have done something, or I would love to talk about it.
That's awesome. And I wouldn't even put any qualification on it. The only thing I would say, in addition in any way, is what I think is the most important thing, is that we love each other. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, because things are going to happen. And so, yeah, hopefully somebody will take you up on that. People will take you up on that, and they'll want to ask you about the way you believe, and you can have good open dialogue.
Well, one way or another, we're all going to meet God. So I just don't, I don't understand why people don't talk more about God.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All right, cool. Well, I mean, see, the thing is I think people can find out what someone's beliefs are without having to then say, oh, well, we disagree on that one thing, so I never want to see that person again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm still friends with most of my friends who are still Mormon, who I went to school with. And, I mean, it hasn't, as far as I can tell, affected our relationship at all.
Well, your generation is remarkable. I mean, I don't know. You kids are just, I call you kids. You're a young man. How old are you now?
38.
Yeah, so you're not a kid anymore, but
no.
But I'm still always taken aback in a good way with the way you guys love each other. I mean, our generation is learning. We're learning from your generation. But anyway, but I was with your aunts and uncles, and I mean, we are. You believe it or not, we're learning a lot from your generation about how to love, how to be more accepting, you know, how to really be the thing that we claim to be. You know what I mean? Like, if that makes, I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it does.
No, it does. Yeah, it does.
All right.
And there's a lot of things that I admire about your guys' generation that I wish my generation, probably the generation younger than me, you know, everybody has stuff they need to work on.
Right. That's true. Yeah. You look good.
Thanks.
I like those glasses, and that's a good looking beard look you got there.
Thank you. Yeah.
How you see? I used to start in November, like the No Shave November thing, but then
is your beard blonde?
It's white.
Oh, it's white.
It's white now. It's like I'm old man white.
Oh.
But it's, you know, I keep cutting it off. Oh my gosh, so you're gonna laugh at this, and you better not. Do you remember? Okay, so I remember one time being up at Zarahemla, and you and Case and I were down messing around by one of the creeks, and you and Case, yeah, you don't get me wrong, you guys were always good to me and stuff, but I'd put on, like, I was fat, man. I had put on so much weight and everything, and you guys had taken your shirts off, and you're down there messing around, and I remember you both looking at me smiling like, "Hey, Uncle Tim, take your shirt off." And you guys thought it was so funny.
I was a punk. I could see myself saying that.
Yeah, Case was a punk too, but he's
now I'm where you're at, and
so's he.
Or I'm where you were at. So.
Oh, it's funny. Full circle, but you know, but that was a good time. I was actually brought that up for a reason. What did I bring that up for? Anyway.
Yeah, a lot of good memories from Camp Zarahemla. I really have enjoyed going there.
Yeah. But the thing is like, you know, I love you. We've hung out probably more than I've hung out with anybody else. So like sometimes when you just know somebody, it's like telling them you love them is like, that's stupid. He knows I love him. So
yeah, I love you too. Absolutely.
Yeah. So all right, man. We'll be good.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Uncle Tim. I really appreciate you taking the time to do all these interviews and to interview me. And I would really like to encourage you to keep doing them. If people tell you no, don't feel discouraged, because they have been a huge blessing to me, and I know they're blessing other people's lives. And I think, honestly, before this interview started, I was about to cancel. Nothing to do with you, but I was like, man, I can't do this. This is too much. I don't know what to say. I don't know what he's going to ask me. But I was just like, you know, so I would totally encourage you to keep pressing on and doing these interviews, because they're a huge blessing.
Man, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
I think it's obvious to me how they blessed me. So before I let you go, tell me how they blessed you.
Man, I don't have the time, or I haven't, for whatever reason, been able to sit down with the different cousins and learn about their lives, and learn about what they're doing, and learn about just their idiosyncrasy, the really interesting stuff is just like their hobbies, or what they enjoy doing in their free time. Like Blair reading Harry Potter, or reading a lot and getting involved in like
conspiracy scholar.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff is really interesting to me, because, you know, even when we meet together as a family, you don't have time to pull everybody aside and talk to them and learn that kind of stuff. So that's been like the most interesting thing. It's just seeing where people are at in their lives, what they're doing, what they think, what they're planning on. Yeah.
What's been, so the blessing for me has just been that now, like, and now you're added, you were already on this list, but now you're added to this list where anybody, particularly anybody I've interviewed, I literally think about them every single day, every day. Really? And I don't know that I could say that before. Not because I wouldn't have wanted to, but because you have to take an interest. You know, you have to know something about what's going on in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know, like Cole and Laren out there, and I mean, they are lonely, and you know, Cole, he's a good guy. He's got a good heart, but it's a challenge coming into a big family especially if you come from a small family, you know.
Yeah, it is for sure.
So yeah. Anyway, well, I'll let you go. I'm gonna do Carissa's husband, Kelly. I think you're gonna dig him too. He's a cool guy. Yeah. You know, he's a little different. You know, people who are different are the ones that really bring character and understanding to life, I think.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of intimidating because he's so big. So it may feel a little safer to, you know, not be like having him work you and while he tells you about his life and you can watch him online. I'm sure he's a really nice guy, but he's so big, like tall.
Well, I'll tell you this before I go. So he was telling this quick story. He stuck his head over the shoulder of Carissa, and he was saying that there was one game, and I got to clarify this with him in his interview, but there was one game where something happened and he just decided he didn't care anymore, and so he started headbutting people. And he got penalty after penalty after penalty just from headbutting people. And
in what game? Soccer?
No, he plays football.
Oh, wow.
He still plays football. In fact, he's headed to a play up in Montana next weekend.
For what? What does he play for?
They have these leagues that are like, I don't know how, they're like the Columbia Basin League almost.
Okay.
Not college, but I mean, they pad up, they hit. It's not even touch football. I mean, it's tackle football. It might be kind of fun sometime to go see a game if you want. I don't know that I have anybody to go with if you want to go sometime. But he's talking about headbutting people, and he's talking, and they're into essential oils and all kinds of stuff, and it was so funny because he's a great guy, you know. So we're talking, and I'm like, "So would you do an interview?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, then get off the screen. This is Carissa's interview." And then I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Please don't headbutt me," you know. And it's just kind of a dumb thing, an interaction that happened that we can all laugh about, you know. Yeah. But never happens if you don't reach out, you know, if you're not doing stuff like this.
Absolutely. Yeah, keep going, Tim. You're
all right, man. You're too kind. All right, well, hang in there.
All right, take care. Love you.
Talk soon. Bye. Love you too. Bye.